Hey, what's going on? NBA season is upon us. I figured I'd do a 2 to 3 part series breaking down how to play NBA and what I personally look at when I am building my lineup. So the first thing I like to do is gather my puzzle pieces. I can't put together a puzzle without gathering all the pieces, and the first one I do is I head to Vegas. That's right. I don't physically go to Vegas, although I wish I could. I head to the Vegas lines. I want to see what are the game totals, what are the implied team totals. I want to look at if there's anything specific that jumps off the map to me as an issue or a potential nugget that I feel like others won't identify because they're focused really hard on that 235-point game total. There are some times when a 215-point total might be a more lucrative DFS spot because maybe one of the teams often is only scoring on average 98 points. Terrible offense, but now they have an implied team total of 107. Now we're looking at almost a 10% increase on fantasy points because this team potentially is going to be scoring 9 to 10 more points in this game. That means likely playing at a faster pace, maybe has more opportunities because of that faster pace, because of more possessions. More possessions means more opportunity means more fantasy points. So Vegas is basically where it all begins for me. The next thing I look at is those paces, where if one team is playing this slow and this team's playing this fast and they're in the same game, well, they're likely going to meet in the middle. The faster paced team is going to have a few less possessions because the slower paced team is going to be running out the clock a bit more. Now, the slower team will also have more possessions because of the other team playing quite fast throughout the game. So they meet in the middle. So you can sometimes look at that situation and say, oh, wow, Memphis Grizzlies, their pace is this. And now they're going to have, potentially going to have 7 or 8 more possessions this game. And vice versa, the fast-paced team might have fewer in that game because of it. Minutes is the next thing I want to identify. So I've identified the games I want to target. I've identified the teams in those games that I'm looking at, or maybe, multiple teams. And now I want to identify the players within those games and teams. And the first thing I do is, where's the opportunity? And you can identify that with the minutes. Who's playing the most minutes? This is often broken down into multiple categories under this, subsequent categories like opportunity, usage, what's happening with the rotation. You need to know, is there injuries? If player A is out, does player B step into his role and just get all the usage and just literally try to recreate whatever player A was doing? Or does player B step in there as kind of just a role player? He's going to soak up some minutes. Maybe he's a defensive point guard. He's going to try to distribute the basketball, but he's not really going to create anything, and he's going to play good defense. There's a lot of players like that step in, and they're not going to be able to recreate whatever player A did. That's why they are a backup. But there's also some times in the NBA when player B comes on the court, and they're a great DFS option, and they'll become uber chalk. And if you don't understand this, you're going to be behind the field immediately. There's also opportunities to use players like that in certain formats, whether you're playing cash games, tournaments, whether you're an MME, and you need to be able to leverage those things. Now, after I've identified those people getting the minutes, the people who have certain specific usages and roles, who's going to be in certain rotations, I want to identify any type of edge that I can, because the public with the NBA DFS is getting a lot sharper. All of this so far is basically becoming public knowledge that you need to do. The other things I think are actually overlooked often are going to be identified right now, and then a few extra ones in the next video. So I think looking at schedule is incredibly important. And not just the schedule, but what type of minutes did each player that you're targeting have within that schedule. Just being able to identify, oh, this team plays their third game in 4 nights. Well, everyone can do that. Take the extra step. Third game in 4 nights. Okay, that's great. How much did they travel? Were they at home for the entire 3-game stead? Are they on the second leg of a back-to-back on the back end of the third game in 4 nights? Meaning they played on Monday, Tuesday they traveled, Wednesday now they're home, they played, Thursday they're home again. Second leg of a back-to-back, even though it's a third game in 4 nights, not terrible. It's not as bad as if somebody were on the second leg of a back-to-back and they're on the road. They're traveling back-to-back nights. Maybe they played 37 minutes the night before. They're going to lose 3-4 minutes tonight potentially on their third game in 4 nights. They played 40 on their first game, played 37 on the road in the second game. Yeah, they're likely going to have, I shouldn't say likely, they potentially are in a spot where they might not play as many minutes. And if maybe the game gets out of hand, they sit their entire fourth rotation and they only end up at 28 minutes. Those are the types of things you need to identify. You need to dig a little bit deeper. Look into their travel. You can also look into the minutes of how they traveled, and then take into consideration all the other things we talked about. Vegas, pace, minutes, usage, role, the rotation, injury, rest, matchups, DVP. All of these things are all pieces of the puzzle, but none are more important than the rest. And I think that in NBA, as long as you can kind of gather everything first before you just go to your cell phone and just try to start hand building these lineups, which puts you in a really bad spot based on game log watching. You got to kind of break down each individual piece and weigh them on your own right. Now, teamriseorfall.com, we try to do that for you, and I'm going to show you a few things here, and then I'm going to talk about what we're going to watch in the next video. All right, so here we are, teamriseorfall.com. We've got the NBA tab, bunch of opportunity to get content there. First off, I would always go to the NBA Study Hub. This is where you can get all the Vegas, you can get the Vegas lines, you can get the implied team totals, you get their salaries, all sorts of ratings we have for this. Looks like this might have been playoffs here. And it has MVP spot, star, pro, all this stuff for FanDuel rating. This is the FanDuel tab. DraftKings would have something similar. And then it has other things like floor and ceiling, fan points per minutes, their ownership projections. We have a heat map, and we're adding multiple tabs to this for this season. So that's something that you can use. So what I like to do is try to gather as much of this as I can through here, and then go and get the extra content that I need through player pools or tiered rankings or notes, things like that. Now, if you are somebody who loves Vegas and you love sports betting, well, we have that as well. Patreon.com/riseorfall. Very cheap, and we'll be doing all sorts of analysis, insights, and props reports and things like that. Talk about confidence picks and NBA, NFL, and MLB. So give those a look. Very cheap. Both links down below in the description section. Next time you come back, we are going to be identifying a few things. We're going to be talking about lineup construction for cash games, lineup construction for GPPs, how to MME, and leveraging ownerships in each format. I hope you subscribe, hit the like button if this was a helpful video, and I hope to see you for part 2. Take care, my friends. Together we rise.